All right, what's going on? It's Bobby Skinner talking Giants, reacting to a Giants loss. And the Giants are 0-2 for the 10th time in 12 years, and that really freaking sucks. Man, this game's about as frustrating as you can get because the Giants should have won this game. Like, the Giants' talent was better than the Commanders, yet coaching, yet certain guys not stepping up in the right situations, roster management led to a loss in this game. Like, the main thing is the kicker malpractice, right? And you could even argue that the Giants – it doesn't make a difference in winning or losing because the Giants may not go for it on that fourth down where they score a touchdown, before the final drive. But that's just malpractice, right? Like Dan Duggan had a tweet out at 11:58 a.m. Gano was put on the injury report on Saturday before practice squad call-ups. Gano didn't look comfortable at all during warm-ups. Wincing after most kicks. He then cut his warm-up short and jogged off the field. Punter Jamie Gillen is now taking warm-up field goals. Who could have seen a kicker with a groin injury being a problem? This shit happened last year. It happened last year with the New York Giants, with the Jets game, where he was injured. He was clearly injured, an injury that put him on IR. They roll him out there. He misses field goals, and the Giants lose the game. And you also have a kicker in Jude McAtamney on your practice squad who's been with you all throughout training camp for this situation. That's insane. And how about we limit his exposure? Let's let Jamie Gillian do the kickoffs. Nope. Graham Gano does the kickoffs, and I blame Graham Gano too. Why are you chasing down that play? Screw that. Protect your health. But anyways, he was going to get injured anyways. Like the argument from Brian Daboll of like, oh, well, it was a hamstring injury, not the groin injury that was dealing with. Come on. Don't play dumb. Like, seriously, don't play dumb. And again, you can actually go do the math and change, change it. I'm like, oh, well, the Giants may not win this game regardless. That's bullshit. That is bullshit that they did that. Whether they would have won or lost, that was a huge mistake. If they won this game by 40 points, that was a huge mistake from the New York Giants to not be ready for that crap. It happened to them last year. It happened to them last week where Gunnar Olszewski is seriously dealing with an injury, a serious injury. He gets hurt in warm-ups. You don't have a backup punt returner. You have Darius Slayton, who in 5 years returned one punt. I think he might have even fumbled it. No, he didn't. As your backup punt return, and he screwed it up. It's just bad roster management. And they had 51 guys on the roster last week. But the real issue, the long-lasting issue from this game is the defense. You maybe live with this outcome if you were playing the Kansas City Chiefs, but not the Commanders. They scored on 7 of 7 drives. 7 on 7 drives. Now, all field goals, right? So good red zone defense, that's nice. But this is against the Commanders. This is against a quarterback who was not looking to throw the ball down the field. And they just had their way with them, And it was just long drives, 16 plays, 10 plays, 14 plays, 9. And then the shortest one was 8 plays where they kneeled the ball on a second down to kick the field goal. So of drives that actually finished, their shortest one was 9. And you were bad on third down. This doesn't include defensive penalties. But the plays without penalties, the Commanders were 7 of 14. Jaden Daniels had 62 yards passing, 24 yards rushing. The running backs had 63 rushing yards on 4 handoffs. Like, it was just a bad defensive game plan. This bend don't break. Again, the Commanders, it might work. Versus good teams, this is not going to work. This is not going to be a defense that works, right? This defense needs to become more aggressive in their coverages. I mean, they had 13 throws behind the line of scrimmage, and they were successful with them, right? It wasn't just they were throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage. They were successful with those plays because of the off coverage played. This is a defense that is played like it has all pros across the roster. And instead, they need a coaching staff to just get the most out of them, And run defense was the thing that Shane Bowen's been good at his entire career in Tennessee. Well, guess what? We don't have the same guys up front as run defenders. The Commanders ran the ball 215 yards on 6.1 yards per carry. And that includes 10 tackles for a loss in there. Just ran it down them all game long. And the thing I'm probably most disappointed on the defense is the pass rush. And hey, when we go through the film, you're going to see some good plays from Kayvon and Brian Burns. But against the Commanders, you should have dominated. Versus their tackles, you should have dominated. Kayvon had 2 hits, 2 pressures, a 15% win rate. Solid game. Brian Burns, 2 pressures, a 13% win rate. Versus the Commanders, that game needed to be dominant. I said anything sort of short of domination would have been a disappointment for Brian Burns when we got that. The film would be interesting to see what happened with Dex. He only got 2 total pressures and a 3% win rate. I don't know exactly what happened there, but if they're double teaming and triple teaming him, then why weren't the other guys getting home? Because there's no excuse for those 3 guys to be putting up that production versus a Commanders offensive line that is really bad. Really the only guy On defense, you come away from proud of is Andrew Phillips, the rookie, starting his first game. You know, he had the sack, 2 tackles for a loss. You know, he got called for a defensive holding, but we saw that was a bullshit call where Zach Ertz just ran through him. That's a garbage call. So your rookie 3rd-round pick is the guy. Like, even Jason Pinnock had some good stats, but you know, he got beat in a couple plays in coverage on do or die plays. Had a defensive holding. So just a really disappointing game from this defense overall. Like, you got killed in the run. The passing game, Jaden Daniels had no desire to throw the ball, and you still couldn't take advantage of that. Let him run on 3rd and longs and convert 3rd downs. Like, just a pitiful game from this Giants defense. Offensively, this was a solid game. This was a good game versus a bad Commanders defense. This is the refreshing part of this for the Daniel Jones point of view is that, hey, we're not having to deal with benching him for a quarterback who's been bad his entire career in Drew Lock. This game doesn't give you any victory laps, but the offense ran well. But it wasn't like some great quarterback performance. It was basically throwing the ball to Malik Nabers, which Daniel Jones did a good job of. You know, he was 0 for 4 on 20-plus yard passes. You know, should have been one more target to Malik Nabers on that shallow cross he didn't throw. But a solid game for Daniel Jones. Like, it was solid quarterbacking, nothing special, but a solid game. You know, he had 178 yards, the 2 touchdowns, the 0 interceptions, good stuff on 3rd and 4th down. The real story for the offense, besides Malik Nabers, is the offensive line. Right? We should be celebrating this offensive line. Unfortunately, the Giants lost. The Giants lost a game. They've lost 2 games in a row where their offensive line deserves praising. You know, 1 sack for 3 yards, that wasn't even credited to the offensive line. You know, they ran the ball at will. 22 rushes for 129 yards, 6 yards a pop. Here's the offensive line stats. Andrew Thomas pitched another shutout. Jermaine Elinor allowed 1 hit. John Runyon allowed 1 pressure, and then John Michael Schmitz and Greg Van Roten allowed 2 pressures apiece. So the offensive line in total allowed 1 quarterback hit and 5 pressures, no sacks. It's a pretty damn good game, and they were able to run the ball at will. Like, this offensive line deserves celebrating, and we sitting here talking about 0-2 again, right? And Singletary played great outside of a fumble, right? That fumble kills them. Like, they were running the ball. That was a long run, and Singletary ends up ending that drive. But when the Giants defense played that way, you need the offense to be perfect, you know. They scored a touchdown on 3 of 7 drives. That's pretty damn good offensively. And the biggest part of that is Malik Nabers, right? He had 127 yards. That was 71% of Daniel Jones' yardage. 18 targets, which was 64%, which Doug Analytics tweeted this. That was the 3rd highest target share since 2000. Since 2000, nobody's gotten a higher target percentage than Malik Nabers, 64%. He was making plays with Yak, 85 of his yards were Yak. That's 67%. Now, unfortunately, because of the Giants' defense, we're going to, this is a great game. We do have a star on our hands of Malik Nabers, but he did have 2 big mistakes that essentially lost him the game. You have the 4th down drop. It's hard to be so mad at a guy who was your entire offense, but he did have the 4th down drop. And a play that most people won't forget is after that big play on that 4th down conversion, they have a penalty, a procedural penalty, because Malik Nabers was late to get to his spot and get set, and it's 1st and 15. And that drive ended on a 4th and short. That's the difference of winning and losing stuff right there. But I'm not going to be mad at a guy who was the Giants' entire offense. So just a frustrating game. Like, the kicker thing is bullshit. And defensively, that's the bigger issue, because I don't know what the fix is for that. Right? If we can't dominate the Commanders' offensive line, what is the fix for this Giants defense? I don't see it, man. Maybe a long, long season. The Giants are getting ready to hit their strength. Their strong part of their schedule. Like and subscribe. We'll have a podcast out in the morning, all that stuff. Appreciate you guys supporting. It sucks that you have to keep supporting us through this dog shit team. We appreciate you guys. Let's go Big Blue.